parents said my birth mother was a dangerous stalker. Then I found out why she was really following me. I'm 17 and I've always known I was adopted. Not in a traumatic way. My parents did the whole, some babies grow in mommy's tummies and others grow in their hearts thing when I was 5. Classic white suburban family move, but it worked. I never really thought about my birth mom, especially because the official story was that she was young and made bad choices with doctor eggs. She loved me but couldn't care for me. Beautiful sacrifice, blah blah blah. All that. I never looked much into it, until 3 weeks ago she showed up at my school. I knew it was her immediately from the one photo in my adoption file. She was just sitting in the pickup line watching. When I mentioned it to Mom, she literally collapsed against the kitchen counter sobbing. Dad's hands shook so bad he dropped his coffee mug. Within an hour, his business partner Derek was in our living room talking about restraining orders and security systems. Derek. Ugh, where do I even start with Derek? He's been around forever, always at family dinners, always weirdly interested in my life, always wearing too much cologne and standing too close. My friend Maya says he gives her the creeps too, but I figured that's just because her mom's a social worker and suspicious of everyone. Anyway, suddenly my life got flipped overnight. No more walking home, no more staying after school, no more debate practice which killed me because I'm team captain and we have state championships in 2 weeks. If I don't place, I can kiss my scholarship goodbye. My parents put tracking apps on my phone and changed my number without asking. They made me sign papers saying I was scared of Kayla even though I'd never talked to her. Derek started picking me up from school whenever my parents couldn't. Then I noticed something weird. 2 weeks before Kayla showed up, my friend Becca had been pressuring me to try and sell Molly. She'd already bought it and kept calling me a baby. The day after I saw Kayla, someone anonymously reported Becca. They found the pills in her locker and expelled her. I realized how close I'd come to destroying my future. Kayla started showing up at public events, but only when something was off, like when this supposed college scout kept photographing our gymnastics team. Next day, the school got screenshots proving he was actually 23 and messaging freshmen. She never approached me, never spoke, just watched. Last Wednesday, Derek crossed a line. After youth group, he cornered me in an empty classroom, put his hand on my thigh, said I had a purity that reminded him of someone special, tried to kiss me. When I jerked away, he said my birth mother was making me paranoid about people who cared about me. I wanted to throw up. Later, I saw his phone and there was a whole folder of pictures of me. Yesterday, everything exploded. Derek wouldn't let me out of his car after school. Grabbed my wrist hard enough to bruise. That's when Kayla appeared with a crowbar and slammed it into his door. She dropped some papers and left. The emails she dropped were between Derek and another man talking about my development, and when I'd be ready. I can't even type it without wanting to scream. My parents saw Derek's scraped car and immediately blamed Kayla. That night at my choir concert, they invited her, pretending that they wanted to give her a chance to see me. Instead, they served her with papers in front of everyone. Our entire church congregation surrounded her car afterward, singing hymns and praying to cast out evil. Someone threw coffee at her windshield. The whole time Derek stood with my parents like nothing happened. Then I learned that we were going to be moving states. Derek is coincidentally expanding his business to the same city and helping us house hunt. My parents act like the car incident never happened. This morning while loading boxes, Kayla dropped an envelope by my feet and whispered, "For when you're ready to know why." I just read it and I'm shaking so hard I can barely type. She was 14, living in my dad's church group home. The medical records show they drugged her during labor and threatened her with prison if she didn't sign adoption papers. There's a DNA test. Derek is my biological father, the same Derek who tried to kiss me, who has pictures of me, who's helping us move. Her journal talks about how Derek had special privileges with the girls. The last entry says, they promised they're good Christians who will protect her. I pray they never let Derek near her. My parents don't know Derek is my father. I don't think even Derek knows. But Kayla has known this whole time and she's been trying to protect me. I have the evidence in my backpack. Maya's mom gave me her card last week and said to call if I ever needed anything. I shoved my phone deep into my backpack and tried to breathe. Mom knocked on my door. "Sweetie, we need more boxes from the garage. Can you help?" I wiped my face quickly and opened the door. She stood there with that fake bright smile she'd been wearing since the whole Kayla situation started. Her eyes darted to my backpack on the bed, then back to me. "Sure," I managed. In the garage, Dad was organizing tools while Derek leaned against his truck, scrolling through his phone. My stomach churned. I grabbed a stack of boxes and turned to leave, but Derek blocked my path. "Need help with those?" He reached for the boxes, his fingers brushing mine. I jerked back so hard the boxes tumbled everywhere. Dad looked up, frowning. "Careful, honey. Those are for the kitchen dishes." Derek bent down to help me gather them, positioning himself so Dad couldn't see his face. "You've been avoiding me," he whispered. "That hurts my feelings." My skin crawled. I snatched the last box and practically ran back inside. That night at dinner, I could barely eat. Derek sat across from me, cutting his steak and making small talk about the new house. How it had a bigger yard, how the basement was finished, how there were no neighbors close by. "It's perfect for a growing family," he said, winking at me. I dropped my fork. Mom shot me a look. "Speaking of family," Dad said, "we've decided to file for a permanent restraining order against your birth mother. Derek's lawyer friend is handling it pro bono. She's dangerous." Mom added, "The way she attacked Derek's car? What if you'd been hurt?" I wanted to scream that Derek was the dangerous one, that I had proof in my backpack, but the words stuck in my throat. They'd never believe me over him, not without showing them everything. After dinner, I excused myself to pack more boxes. Really, I locked my bedroom door and pulled out Maya's mom's business card. My fingers shook as I typed out a text. "This is Maya's friend. You said to contact you if I needed help. I need help." The response came within minutes. "Can you meet tomorrow? Starbucks on 5th Street, 3 p.m. I deleted the messages immediately and hid the card inside my pillowcase. The next morning, Derek showed up early to drive me to school. My parents were already at work. I tried to protest, but he jangled the keys. "Your mom asked me specifically. Can't let her down, can we?" The ride was torture. He kept adjusting the rearview mirror to watch me. At every red light, his hand would drift toward my knee before pulling back. When we finally reached school, he grabbed my wrist as I reached for the door handle. "You know, you look just like her when she was young. Same eyes, same smile." His grip tightened. "But you're special. Pure. Not like she was." I yanked my arm free and bolted from the car. My wrist throbbed where he'd held it, a fresh bruise forming over yesterday's. During lunch, I snuck to the library and used a school computer to finally click the link Kayla had included. My heart stopped. Screenshots of messages between Derek and other men. Photos of girls I recognized from our church youth group, taken without their knowledge. Financial records showing payments. And worse. So much worse. I barely made it to the bathroom before throwing up. Maya found me there, crying on the floor. Oh my god, what happened? I couldn't tell her. Not all of it. But I managed to say Derek's name and she understood enough. She helped me clean up and walked me to the nurse's office, where I faked period cramps to avoid going back to class. At 2:45, I told the nurse I felt better and needed to get my homework. Instead, I slipped out the side door and ran the 6 blocks to Starbucks. Maya's mom, Mrs. Chen, was already there, sitting in a corner booth with her back to the wall. Sit, she said gently. Maya told me you might need help. I pulled out the envelope Kayla had given me, then my phone with the link. Mrs. Chen's expression grew darker with each page she read. When she got to the messages about me being ready, she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. This is evidence of trafficking, she said quietly. Not just of you, but multiple girls. How long has this been happening? I don't know. Years maybe? The papers show Kayla was 14 when Derek... I couldn't finish. Mrs. Chen reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're brave for coming to me, but we need to move fast. Is Derek still around you regularly? I nodded. He's helping us move. He drives me places. He's at our house constantly. Okay, here's what we're going to do. She pulled out a small device. This is a recording app. Very simple. One button. If Derek says anything inappropriate or threatening, record it. We need current evidence, not just historical. My parents won't believe me, I whispered. They will when we have enough proof. But first, we need to keep you safe. She handed me a cheap flip phone. Emergency only. My number is programmed. If Derek tries anything, call immediately. I shoved both devices deep in my backpack just as my phone buzzed. Mom, asking where I was. I told her debate practice ran late. When I got home, moving boxes were everywhere. Mom was labeling them while Dad and Derek loaded the truck. I tried to slip past to my room, but Mom called me over. Help me with the kitchen stuff. Oh, and Derek offered to take you shopping for new room decorations tomorrow. Isn't that sweet? My blood ran cold. I have school. It's Saturday, silly. You've been so stressed lately. It'll be good for you to get out. I looked at Derek, who smiled that awful smile. Just the two of us. Like old times. That night, I barricaded my door with my dresser and texted Mrs. Chen about the shopping trip. She responded immediately. Record everything. Stay in public spaces. If he tries to take you anywhere isolated, call 911. I didn't sleep. Instead, I spent hours going through the evidence again, trying to understand how deep this went. The financial records showed Derek had been receiving payments for years. The photos went back to when I was 12. How had I not seen it? Morning came too fast. I could hear Derek's voice downstairs, laughing with my parents over coffee. Normal. Acting so normal while planning God knows what. I tucked the recording device in my pocket and practiced reaching for it casually. The flip phone went in my boot. The evidence stayed hidden in my backpack, which I shoved under my bed. Ready for our shopping adventure? Derek called up the stairs. I forced myself to walk down calmly. Mom beamed at us. Have fun, you two. Derek, thank you again for this. She needs some normal teenager time. The moment we got in his car, I hit record. Just you and me now, he said, backing out of the driveway. We can finally talk properly. He drove past the mall, past the shopping district. My heart hammered as we headed toward the industrial area. Where are we going? I kept my voice steady. Thought we'd check out the warehouse space I'm buying. You can help me envision the layout. He glanced over. Your mom thought it was a great idea. Said you have an eye for design. Lie. Mom would never suggest that. I gripped the flip phone through my boot. The warehouse was isolated, surrounded by empty lots. Derek parked and turned to me. Before we go in, we need to discuss something. His hand landed on my knee. I froze. Your birth mother has been filling your head with lies, making you nervous around me. But I've known you since you were a baby. I've watched you grow into this beautiful young woman. His hand moved higher. I've been patient. So patient. But now that you're almost 18, I shoved his hand away. Stop. His face darkened. Don't be like her. She was difficult too at first, but I showed her how good it could be, how special our connection was. You mean when she was 14? The words burst out before I could stop them. Derek went very still. What did she tell you? Nothing. I lied. I know she was young. He studied my face, then smiled that terrible smile. She was special, like you, but she threw it away. Got pregnant by some deadbeat. Ruined everything. His hand reached for my face. But you won't make that mistake. You're pure. Perfect. Mine. I slapped his hand away and grabbed for the door handle. Locked. Of course it was locked. Let me out. We're just talking. He leaned closer. You know, I have videos of her. From before. Would you like to see what your mother was really like? Bile rose in my throat. I kicked at the door, screaming. Derek grabbed my wrists, pinning them. Stop being dramatic. You're acting just like... The windshield exploded. Glass fragments showered down as Kayla stood outside with a baseball bat, her face twisted with rage. Get away from her! Derek released my wrists, fumbling for his phone. I scrambled for the door lock, finally finding it and tumbling out onto the gravel. Kayla grabbed my arm, pulling me behind her. You okay? She asked, never taking her eyes off Derek. I nodded, unable to speak. Derek emerged from the car, brushing glass from his hair. You're insane, he spat at Kayla. Breaking my windshield? That's destruction of property. I'm calling the police. Go ahead, Kayla said calmly. I'm sure they'd love to hear what you were doing with a minor in an isolated warehouse. Derek's face went red. Her mother asked me to take her shopping. We were just talking. I recorded everything, I blurted out, pulling the device from my pocket. Both adults turned to stare at me. Derek lunged forward, but Kayla swung the bat, forcing him back. Run to my car, she told me. Blue Honda, around the corner. I sprinted, hearing Derek shouting behind me. Kayla's car was unlocked. I dove into the back seat just as she jumped in the driver's side. We peeled out, leaving Derek standing in the empty lot. Where are we going? I asked, my voice shaking. Somewhere safe, then we need to talk. She drove to a busy coffee shop downtown, parking where we could see both entrances. Inside, she chose a table in the back corner and ordered us both hot chocolate. Her hands trembled as she wrapped them around her cup. How did you know where I was? I've been following him when he's with you. I knew something would happen today. I could feel it. She looked at me with eyes exactly like mine. Did he hurt you? He tried to. He said things about you. About when you were 14. Kayla's jaw tightened. What else did he say? I told her everything. About the videos he claimed to have. About calling me pure and perfect. About being patient. When I finished, she was gripping her cup so hard I thought it might shatter. I need to tell you something, she said quietly. About why I gave you up. The real reason. I read your letter. I know what he did to you. Number. She shook her head. You know part of it, but there's more. She pulled out a worn notebook and slid it across the table. I've been documenting everything for 17 years. Every girl who disappeared from that group home. Every payment Derek received. Every cover-up your father orchestrated. I opened the notebook with shaking hands. Names, dates, photos. Girls who'd aged out of the system and vanished. Money transfers. Church donations that never reached any charity. Your adoptive father wasn't just running a group home, Kayla continued. It was a pipeline. Derek would groom the girls, break them down, then they'd disappear. Sent to mission trips that never ended. Sold to men who wanted young, obedient wives. My stomach churned. But my dad, he's a good person. He wouldn't. He knew. Maybe not everything, but he knew enough. Why do you think he panicked when I showed up? Why bring Derek in immediately? She leaned forward. They thought I was dead. I was supposed to disappear too after you were born. But a nurse helped me escape. Why didn't you go to the police? With what evidence? I was a teenage addict from the system. They were respected church leaders. Who would believe me? She touched my hand gently. So I stayed hidden. Watched you grow up from afar. Made sure you were safe. Until Derek started looking at me differently. She nodded. I've been trying to protect you without revealing myself. The college scout, your friend with the substances, those weren't coincidences. Derek was testing boundaries, seeing how far he could push. My phone buzzed. Mom, frantic. Where are you? Derek said you ran off. We're calling the police. I have to go back, I said. Number. If you go back now, they'll never let you out of their sight again. And the move. Kayla grabbed my hands. Once you're in that new house, isolated, with Derek nearby. But I have the recording. Mrs. Chen said, Mrs. Chen is good, but this is bigger than she knows. We need more than one recording. We need everything. She glanced around, then pulled out a different phone. There are others. Women who survived. They're ready to come forward, but we need someone on the inside. Someone they won't suspect. You want me to go back? After what just happened? I want you safe, but if we run now, they'll spin it as kidnapping. Paint me as the dangerous birth mother who brainwashed you. Derek will be the hero who tried to protect you. Her voice broke. And the other girls still in that system. They'll disappear like the others. My phone rang. Dad this time. I let it go to voicemail. What do I need to do? Kayla pulled out a tiny camera, smaller than a button. Tonight's Saturday. Tomorrow there's church. Derek always goes to the youth group room after service. Says he's mentoring. Plant this where it can see the whole room. How do you know his schedule? I've been watching for 3 years. Learning their patterns. Waiting for the right moment. She handed me a list of names. These girls in your youth group, do you know them? I scanned the list. Yeah, most of them. Why? Watch how Derek interacts with them. Especially these 3. She circled names. They're all foster kids. All turning 18 soon. All scheduled for mission trips this summer. My blood ran cold. I recognized the pattern now. Sweet, quiet girls with no family. Girls who wouldn't be missed. I'll do it, I said. Kayla squeezed my hands. Be careful. Act normal. Apologize for running. Say you got scared and overreacted. Let them think they're winning. She drove me to a park near my house. Before I got out, she handed me a burner phone. Hide this well. If anything happens, speed dial 1. I walked home slowly, practicing my story. When I reached our driveway, Mom flew out the front door and crushed me in a hug. Thank God. We were so worried. Derek said you just jumped out of his car and ran. What were you thinking? I'm sorry. I mumbled into her shoulder. I got overwhelmed. The move and everything. I just needed space. Dad appeared, his face stern. You can't just run off like that. Derek was trying to help you. I know. I'm sorry. Is he okay? His windshield? Some vandal attacked his car right after you left. Probably the same person who's been stalking you. Dad's jaw clenched. This is why we need to move. Get away from all this. Inside, Derek sat on our couch with a bandage on his forehead, playing the victim perfectly. When he saw me, his eyes flashed with something dark before shifting to concern. I'm just glad you're safe, he said. When that windshield shattered, all I could think about was protecting you. Mom rubbed his shoulder. You're such a good friend to our family. I forced myself to apologize to him, to thank him for trying to take me shopping. He accepted graciously, but when my parents weren't looking, he mouthed later at me. That night, I lay in bed clutching the burner phone, replaying everything Kayla had told me. The notebook entries swirled in my mind. Girls with names and faces disappeared into nothing. And tomorrow, I'd have to walk into church and pretend everything was normal. Sunday morning came too fast. I dressed carefully, hiding the tiny camera in my pocket. At breakfast, my parents acted like yesterday never happened, chatting about the moving schedule and new house details. Derek's meeting us at church, Mom said. He wants to show you something special in the youth room after service. My skin crawled, but I smiled. That's nice of him. The service dragged on forever. I sat between my parents, hyper-aware of Derek 2 rows back. During the prayer, I felt his eyes on me. The sermon was about obedience and trusting God's plan. I wanted to laugh at the irony. After service, the congregation mingled in the lobby. I watched Derek work the room, shaking hands and charming everyone. Several foster girls from the youth group clustered near him, hanging on his every word. The 3 Kayla had circled were all there, smiling shyly as he complimented their dresses. Ready for that surprise? Derek appeared at my elbow. Mom beamed. Go on, sweetie. We'll be in the fellowship hall. I followed him down the hallway, my heart pounding. The youth room was empty, chairs still arranged in a circle from earlier. Derek closed the door behind us. Sit, he commanded, his friendly mask dropping. I perched on a chair near the door. He pulled another chair close. Too close. Our knees touching. Yesterday was unfortunate, he began. Your birth mother has clearly poisoned your mind against me, but I forgive you. I understand you're confused. I'm not confused. No? He leaned forward. Then you understand what's at stake here? Your parents' reputation? Their ministry? Everything they've built could crumble because of one disturbed woman's lies. They're not lies. His hand shot out, gripping my chin. Careful. You have no idea what you're playing with. The system we've built helps hundreds of troubled girls find purpose, find homes, find God. You mean find buyers. The slap came so fast I didn't see it. My cheek burned as tears sprang to my eyes. You know nothing, he hissed. These girls are throwaways, addicts, whores in training. We save them, give them purpose. Send them to good Christian men who will guide them. I touched my stinging cheek, fury overriding fear. Like you guided Kayla? Your mother was special, different. I loved her. His eyes went distant. She was so pure when she arrived, so eager to please, but she betrayed that love, got pregnant by another man, ruined everything. You're my father. The words hung between us. Derek's face went white, then red. What did you say? The DNA test. Kayla showed me. You're my biological father. He stood abruptly, pacing. No, that's impossible. She was with others, many others. Part of her training. Bile rose in my throat. Training? To be obedient, compliant. Perfect wives require preparation. He spun to face me. But you're different. Raised right, pure. You could be everything she failed to be. I'm your daughter. Biology is irrelevant. What matters is the spirit, the connection. He moved closer. I've waited so long, been so patient. Your parents trust me completely. Once we move, once you're away from her influence, the door burst open. Mom stood there, taking in my tear-stained face and Derek looming over me. What's going on? Derek smoothly stepped back. She got emotional talking about the move, missing her friends. You know how teenage girls are. Mom's eyes narrowed slightly, but she nodded. Come on, sweetie. Let's get some lunch. I fled to her side. As we walked away, I remembered the camera in my pocket. In my fear, I'd forgotten to plant it. But maybe I had something better. The recording device had been running the whole time. At lunch, I excused myself to the bathroom and listened to the recording. Derek's confession was clear. His admission about the system, about training girls, about wanting me. It was enough. It had to be. I texted Mrs. Chen from the burner phone. I have it. He confessed to trafficking. What now? Her response was immediate. Don't go home. Meet me at the police station. Bring everything. But when I emerged from the bathroom, Derek was waiting. Going somewhere? He held up my regular phone. Your mom asked me to give this to you. Seems you left it in the youth room. I hadn't. It had been in my other pocket, which meant, looking for this? He pulled out the recording device, then dropped it on the floor and crushed it under his heel. Terrible quality on these things anyway. Mom, I called out, but he grabbed my arm. She's in the fellowship hall. Can't hear you. Now we're going to walk calmly to my car. You're going to tell your parents you want to see the new house. And if you make a scene, he showed me his phone. On the screen was a photo of one of the foster girls from youth group. Sweet little Theo, just turned 15. Already scheduled for a mission trip next month. Would be a shame if she left early. I stared at the girl's smiling face. Another innocent who had no idea what awaited her. You wouldn't. I've done it before, many times. Your cooperation determines her fate. I let him guide me back to the fellowship hall, where my parents were chatting with other church members. Derek's grip on my arm looked casual, supportive even. Great news, he announced. She wants to see the new house. Get excited about the move. Mind if I take her? Dad clapped him on the shoulder. That's perfect. Maybe it'll help her adjust to the idea. I'll come too, Mom said, but Derek shook his head. Let me handle this. You know how she's been lately. Sometimes kids open up more to non-parents. They agreed, of course. They always agreed with Derek. As he led me out, I caught sight of Kayla's car in the parking lot. She was watching, but couldn't intervene. Not without making things worse. Derek's new rental car smelled like air freshener and leather. He'd already replaced the one Kayla damaged. As we drove, he hummed hymns, perfectly at ease. You know what I love about the new house? He said conversationally. The basement, completely soundproof. The previous owner was a musician. My hand inched toward the burner phone in my boot. I wouldn't, he said without looking. I have friends everywhere. Police, social services, courts. One word from me and your birth mother goes to prison for stalking and assault. You become a troubled teen who needs intensive therapy. Isolated therapy, far from outside influences. We drove for an hour, leaving the city behind. The houses grew sparse, then disappeared entirely. Finally, he turned down a long gravel driveway. The house sat alone, surrounded by woods. No neighbors, no witnesses. Home sweet home, Derek said. Inside, the house was empty except for some folding chairs and boxes. Derek gave me the tour like a proud realtor, pointing out features. The kitchen where family dinners would happen, the living room for fellowship, and finally, the basement. The stairs creaked as we descended. The basement was finished, carpeted, with a small bathroom in the corner. A bed sat against one wall. Chains were bolted to the floor. This is where the difficult ones stay, Derek explained casually, until they learn. Your mother spent 3 months down here. By the end, she was begging to please me. I backed toward the stairs, but he blocked my path. You have 2 choices. Come willingly. Be the daughter I always wanted. Help me guide these lost girls to their purpose. Or fight, and watch as I destroy everyone you care about. Your parents, your friends, those foster girls. I have enough dirt on your father to send him to prison. Your mother would lose everything. You're insane. I'm practical. This system has worked for 20 years. Girls disappear all the time. Runaways, addicts. Nobody investigates. Nobody cares. But you're different. Special. My blood. He reached for me and I snapped. 17 years of self-defense classes kicked in. I drove my knee into his groin, then raked my nails across his face as he doubled over. He howled, stumbling back, and I ran. Up the stairs, through the house, out the front door. I sprinted down the driveway, pulling out the burner phone. But there was no signal. Nothing. Derek's car engine roared to life behind me. I dove into the woods, branches tearing at my church dress. Behind me, Derek shouted my name, his voice echoing through the trees. I ran deeper, stumbling over roots, pushing through undergrowth. A road appeared ahead. I burst out of the tree line just as a familiar blue Honda screeched to a stop. Get in! Kayla shouted. I dove into the passenger seat as Derek emerged from the woods. Kayla floored it, tires spinning on gravel. How did you find me? I've been following since you left church. I knew something was wrong. She handed me her phone. Call Chen. Tell her everything. As I dialed, Kayla filled me in. I contacted the other survivors. They're at the police station now giving statements. But we need your evidence. The recordings, the documents, everything. Derek destroyed the recording, but I remember everything he said. About the system, the training, the basement. Mrs. Chen answered on the first ring. Where are you? Your parents are here frantic. Derek called them saying you attacked him and ran off. He took me to the new house. There's a basement with chains. He admitted to trafficking girls for 20 years. Slow down. Where is this house? I gave her the directions as best I could remember. In the background, I heard her dispatching units. Get somewhere safe, she ordered. Don't go home. Derek's there with your parents, spinning his version. Kayla drove us to a motel outside town. In the room, she pulled out a laptop and started uploading files. Everything's here. Financial records, photos, testimonies from 12 survivors, enough to bury him and everyone involved, including my dad. She looked at me sadly. I'm sorry, but yes, he knew. Maybe not all the details, but he knew enough. We spent the night preparing. Kayla coached me through my statement, making sure I remembered every detail. The other survivors joined us via video call, sharing their stories, each one eerily similar to mine. Groomed, isolated, sold. By morning, Mrs. Chen had assembled a task force. The new house had been raided, the basement documented. 3 current foster girls had been removed from the church's care, financial records seized. But Derek was gone. He never went home last night, Mrs. Chen explained. Your parents are cooperating, claim they had no idea. We need you to come in, give your official statement. At the station, I saw my parents in the waiting room. Mom had been crying. Dad looked hollow, aged 10 years overnight. When they saw me, Mom rushed over. Thank God you're safe. Derek said you'd become violent, that Kayla had brainwashed you. We didn't know what to believe. Did you know? I asked Dad directly. About the girls? His face crumpled. I suspected something. But Derek always had explanations. The girls were troubled, better off in stable homes. I told myself it was God's plan. God's plan? I pulled away from Mom's embrace. Selling teenage girls was God's plan? We didn't know about that, Mom protested. We thought they were mission trips, marriage arrangements. Derek said what you wanted to hear. And you never questioned it because the donations kept flowing. Mrs. Chen intervened. We need to take her statement now. You'll have time to talk later. I spent hours in that interview room, recounting everything. The recording I'd lost was a blow, but the physical evidence from the house, combined with the survivor testimonies and financial records, built a strong case. As I signed my statement, Chen's phone rang. Her face went pale. They found Derek. He's at the church. We raced there in a convoy of police cars. The church was surrounded, SWAT teams in position. Inside, Derek had barricaded himself in the youth room with 3 foster girls as hostages. The negotiator tried reasoning with him over a megaphone. Derek's response was to throw a chair through the window. This is God's house, he screamed. You have no authority here. Hours passed. Parents gathered outside, including mine. The 3 girls' foster families arrived, frantic. As darkness fell, Derek grew more agitated. Then Kayla stepped forward. Let me talk to him, she told the police chief. He's obsessed with me. Always has been. I can distract him. Absolutely not, the chief said. Those girls don't have time. I know him. Know his triggers. Please. After much debate, they agreed. Kayla approached the building slowly, hands visible. Derek, she called. It's me. Let the girls go. Take me instead. Silence. Then Derek appeared at the broken window. You destroyed everything, he spat. Number you destroyed it the moment you touched me. I was 14, Derek. A child. You were special. Chosen. And you threw it away. I survived. And so will they. She gestured to the girls. Let them go. This is between us. More silence. Then, one by one, the girls emerged from the building, running to safety. Derek appeared in the doorway, disheveled and wild-eyed. Just you and me now, he said, the way it should have been. Kayla walked closer. I wanted to scream for her to stop, but Chen held me back. You want to know a secret? Kayla said softly. I never told anyone who the father was. Never put it in writing. The DNA test I showed her? I faked it. Derek froze. What? You're not her father, Derek. You never were. I lied to protect her, to make you hesitate, to buy time. She smiled coldly. You're nothing to her. Nothing to me. Just a pathetic man who hurts children because he's too weak to face real women. Derek's face contorted with rage. He charged at Kayla, but she was ready. As he reached her, she sidestepped and swept his legs. He went down hard, and officers swarmed him. As they dragged him away, he screamed about conspiracies and persecution. But it was over. Finally over. Later at the station, Kayla found me in the hallway. Was it true? I asked. About the DNA test? She pulled out a paper. The real test. Derek's name was clear as day. I lied to him, not you. He needed to believe he had no claim on you. No connection. It was the only way to break his fixation. So he really is. Biologically? Yes. But biology doesn't make a father. The man who raised you, flawed as he is, loves you. Derek only loves control. My parents were released after questioning. Dad would face charges for negligence and failure to report, but likely no jail time. Mom was cleared, genuinely ignorant of the trafficking. Their marriage might not survive, but that wasn't my problem anymore. The next weeks blurred together. More survivors came forward. The investigation expanded to other churches in Derek's network. Dozens of girls were tracked down, some rescued from situations I couldn't bear to imagine. I testified before a grand jury, faced Derek in court during preliminary hearings. Each time he stared at me with those cold eyes, but I didn't flinch. Kayla sat behind me, steady as a rock. The church dissolved. The congregation scattered. My parents' perfect Christian bubble burst, leaving them to face ugly truths. They tried therapy, tried apologizing, tried rebuilding. I wasn't ready to forgive. Maybe someday. I moved in with Kayla temporarily. It was awkward at first. 17 years of separation couldn't be bridged overnight. But gradually, we found our rhythm. She taught me to cook. I helped her study for her GED. We were both learning to be family. Mrs. Chen helped me apply for emancipation, given the circumstances. The court approved quickly. I was free to make my own choices. College applications loomed. My perfect transcript was intact, but the state debate championship had passed during the chaos. My scholarship chances seemed dead until the committee reached out. They'd heard about my situation, reviewed my past performances. The scholarship was mine if I wanted it. Derek's trial date was set for spring. 23 counts of human trafficking, 15 counts of child abuse, 1 count of attempted kidnapping. The prosecutor assured me he'd never see freedom again. The other girls from the youth group slowly healed. Some went to real foster families. Others aged out but stayed connected, forming an unofficial support network. We met monthly, sharing stories and strength. One evening, while sorting through college brochures with Kayla, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won, but the system is bigger than one man, bigger than one church. We know where you are. Kayla read it over my shoulder, her jaw tightening. They're trying to scare you, she said. Is it working? She hugged me close. You're stronger than they think. We both are. And we're not alone anymore. I deleted the text and blocked the number. Let them threaten. Let them rage. Their system was crumbling, one arrest at a time. And I'd be there to testify at every trial, speak at every hearing, until none of them could hurt another girl again. The scholarship letter arrived the next week. Full ride to my dream school. As I read it aloud to Kayla, she cried for the first time since finding me. You're going to change the world, she whispered. Maybe. Or maybe I'd just help a few girls like me find their voices. Either way, I was free. We were free. And that was enough. Derek was sentenced to life without parole. Dad got 2 years probation and community service. The church property was sold, proceeds going to survivors. Mom started volunteering at a real shelter, one that actually protected women. I spoke at Derek's sentencing, looked him in the eye and told the court exactly what he'd stolen from so many girls. He didn't react, just stared with those dead eyes. But I wasn't speaking for him. I was speaking for us, the survivors, the fighters, the free. As I left the courthouse, Kayla waited on the steps. Behind her stood 15 other women, all survivors of Derek's system. We'd found each other through the investigation, bonded through shared trauma and triumph. Ready for lunch? Kayla asked. I looked at these incredible women who'd survived hell and came out standing. My chosen family. My real family. Yeah, I said, linking arms with my birth mother. I'm ready. I need to write the ending section that continues from where the middle left off, maintaining 97% action and only 3% resolution. The middle section ended with the narrator looking at the survivors and saying, I'm ready to go to lunch with Kayla. I need to continue from this exact moment with active plot progression for approximately 1,697 words, before allowing any resolution elements in the final approximately 53 words. Key elements to continue. The threat text suggesting the system is bigger than Derek. Active developments with other survivors. Ongoing challenges and conflicts. The narrator's journey without jumping to resolution. Maintaining realistic, grounded scenarios I must avoid. Therapy enrollment. Support group formation. Long-term adaptation descriptions. Establishing new routines. Processing emotional impacts through reflection. We piled into 3 cars, the 15 survivors plus Kayla and me. The restaurant was busy, which made me nervous. Every time the door opened, I checked for familiar faces from church. Kayla noticed and switched seats with me so I could face the entrance. Halfway through ordering, my phone vibrated. Another unknown number. I showed it to Kayla without opening it. Block it, she said firmly. But curiosity won. The message was a photo of me leaving the courthouse, taken from across the street. No words, just the image. One of the other survivors, a woman named Sarah who'd escaped the system 10 years ago, leaned over. They did that to me too. For months after my testimony. Trying to intimidate. What did you do? Changed my number 5 times. Moved twice. She stirred her coffee. Eventually they found new girls to focus on. The words hit like ice water. New girls. While we sat here celebrating Derek's conviction, the system kept churning. After lunch, Kayla drove me back to her apartment. We'd been staying there since the trial started, but the lease was up next week. Neither of us had talked about what came next. There's something I need to show you, she said, pulling out a manila folder. Inside were rental listings, all circled in red pen, each one near the university where I'd gotten the scholarship. I thought maybe. She trailed off, suddenly uncertain. I could get a job there, be nearby, not hovering, just available. I stared at the listings, throat tight. Part of me wanted to say yes immediately. Another part, the part that had learned to be independent these past months, hesitated. My phone rang before I could respond. Mrs. Chen. We have a problem, she said without preamble. 3 of the girls Derek had targeted for mission trips are missing. Their foster families reported it this morning. My blood went cold. But Derek's in prison. The system's bigger than Derek. We always knew that. Can you come to the station? The families want to talk to you. Kayla drove while I called the other survivors. Within an hour, 8 of us had gathered at the police station. The foster parents looked shell-shocked, clutching photos of their missing girls. They left notes, one foster mom said, voice shaking. Said they were going on their mission trips early, that God had called them. I recognized the language immediately. The same phrases Derek had used. Someone else was running his playbook. Mrs. Chen spread out a map. The girls' phones last pinged here, here, and here, all heading east on I-70. The safe houses, Sarah said suddenly. Derek had safe houses along that route, places to hold girls before transport. Chen's team mobilized quickly, but I felt useless sitting in the station. These girls were missing because we'd taken down Derek, because the system needed replacements. I want to help search, I told Chen. Absolutely not. You're a minor and a witness. I can't put you in danger. But Kayla was already pulling out her laptop. I mapped Derek's properties 3 years ago, not just the ones in his name. Shell companies, church holdings, properties registered to his associates. She pulled up a spreadsheet that made Chen whistle low. This is incredible. How did you? 17 years of watching, learning, preparing. Kayla's fingers flew across the keyboard. There, 3 properties within 50 miles of those phone pings, all purchased by the same LLC that bought the house with the basement. Chen immediately dispatched units, but I couldn't sit still. Those girls were running out of time. There's another way, Sarah said quietly. The transport usually happens at truck stops. Same ones every time. If we could get there first. Number Chen's voice was firm. I appreciate the information, but this is a police matter now. Sarah waited until Chen left to coordinate the search, then turned to us. She doesn't understand. By the time they get warrants, check those properties, the girls will be gone, shipped out. What are you suggesting? Kayla asked. The truck stop on Route 50. That's where they always stage the transfers. If the pattern holds, they'll be there tonight around 10. I checked my phone. It was already 7. We can't interfere with an investigation, one of the other survivors said. We won't interfere. We'll just observe. If we see something, we call it in. Sarah's jaw was set. I couldn't save myself back then, but maybe. In the end, 5 of us went. Kayla, Sarah, me, and 2 others who'd escaped the system years ago. We took 2 cars, staying in contact by phone. The truck stop was exactly as depressing as expected. Fluorescent lights, diesel fumes, and truckers grabbing coffee. We parked where we could see the whole lot and waited. 9:30 came and went, then 10. I was starting to think we'd guessed wrong when a white van pulled in. The windows were tinted, but something about how carefully it parked, away from the lights, made my skin prickle. That's it, Sarah breathed. Same type they used for me. A man got out, stretched, and walked into the store. Through the van's windshield, I could barely make out shapes in the back. Multiple figures, not moving much. Call Chen, Kayla ordered. But before I could dial, another car arrived. A sedan, parking next to the van. The driver got out and my heart stopped. It was my father's assistant pastor, Brother Marcus. He'd been at every church event, every youth group meeting. Always helpful, always volunteering to drive kids places. Oh God, I whispered. Marcus walked to the van's back doors, checking his watch. The first man returned with coffee and they talked briefly. Then Marcus opened the doors. 3 girls stumbled out, the ones from the photos. They looked dazed, movement sluggish, drugged probably, just like they'd drugged Kayla during labor. I was already calling Chen, whispering urgently into the phone, but Sarah wasn't waiting. She got out of our car and started walking toward them. Sarah, no, Kayla hissed. But Sarah kept walking, pulling out her phone like she was checking directions. She got close enough to call out, "Excuse me, is this the way to Oklahoma City?" Marcus turned, annoyed. That's when Sarah snapped his photo and the van's license plate in one smooth motion. "Hey!" The first man stepped toward her. Sarah backed away, hands up. "Sorry, wrong truck stop." But one of the girls had heard a woman's voice. She turned, blinking in confusion. "Help," she mouthed silently. That's when everything went sideways. Marcus recognized me in the car. Our eyes met through the windshield and his face went white. He barked something at the other man, who grabbed the nearest girl and shoved her back toward the van. "They're running," I shouted into the phone to Chen. "They're taking the girls." Kayla was already starting the engine. Sarah sprinted back toward us as the men hustled the girls into the van. But one girl, the youngest, fought back. She bit the man's hand and ran. Not toward the store where there'd be help. Not toward the highway. She ran into the dark field behind the truck stop, panicking. Marcus and the other man looked at each other, then at us, calculating. They couldn't chase her without abandoning the van. Couldn't leave without her. She was evidence. They chose the van. Doors slammed, engine roared, and they peeled out just as sirens wailed in the distance. The girl. I pointed at the field. We found her hiding behind a dumpster, shaking so hard she could barely stand. Theo. The same girl Derek had threatened to take early if I didn't cooperate. "It's okay," I told her, wrapping my jacket around her shoulders. "You're safe now." "They said God wanted us to go," she whispered. "Said we were chosen for special work, but then they gave us something to drink and everything got fuzzy." Police cars screamed into the lot. Chen jumped out, face furious. "I told you to stay at the station." "We found her," Kayla said simply, arm around Theo. The next hours blurred together. Statements, medical exams for Theo, coordinating the manhunt for the van. They found it abandoned 20 miles away. The other 2 girls were gone. Marcus was picked up at his house trying to pack. He broke within hours, spilling names and locations. The network was vast. Churches across 3 states, all funneling girls through the same system Derek had built. But for every name Marcus gave, 2 more stayed hidden. For every girl rescued, others vanished. The system adapted, evolved, survived. I sat in the station at dawn, exhausted. Thea was safe, reunited with her foster family. Marcus was in custody. It was a victory, but it felt hollow. "You did good," Chen said, sitting beside me. "Theo's alive because of you. 2 girls are still missing, and we'll find them. This investigation just expanded across state lines. FBI's involved now." She studied me. "You know you can't save them all, right?" I thought about the text messages, the photos, the threats, the system that kept churning even with Derek locked away. "I can try." Mom showed up as I was leaving the station. She looked haggard, aged years and months. "I heard what happened. With Marcus. I can't believe. All this time. Believing would have meant admitting Dad knew," I said flatly. She flinched. "He's getting help. Therapy. He wants to make amends. Good for him. He's still your father. Number. He's someone who looked the other way while girls disappeared, who valued donations over lives." I shouldered my backpack. "I have to go. Kayla's waiting." "This woman has poisoned you against us," Mom said desperately. "We made mistakes, but we love you. We're your family." I turned back. "She saved me. You would have let Derek take me to that house. Would have smiled and waved as he drove away. We didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference." Kayla was indeed waiting in the car. As we drove away, I saw Mom still standing there, looking lost. Part of me ached for the family we'd pretended to be, but that family had never really existed. "Chen called while you were inside," Kayla said. "They found the van's GPS history. The other 2 girls were transferred to another vehicle at a rest stop. Trail goes cold there." My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. This time I didn't hesitate to open it. "You cost us money. That has consequences." I showed Kayla, who pulled over immediately. "We're changing your number again. And maybe it's time to consider the FBI's offer." They'd suggested witness protection initially, but I'd refused. Running felt like letting them win. But now, with the threats escalating, no, I decided. I testify next week in the Marcus case, then the week after in the expansion hearings. I'm not hiding. They know where you live, where you're going to school. Good. Let them watch me succeed. Let them see me graduate, go to college, help other survivors. Let them know they didn't break me. Kayla squeezed my hand. "You're sure?" I thought about Theo, hiding behind that dumpster. About the 2 girls still missing. About all the others trapped in the system. I'm sure. The next few days passed in a blur of legal prep and apartment hunting. Kayla found a place near campus, small but clean. I'd have my own room for the first time in months. The night before the Marcus trial, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those missing girls, wondering if they were okay, if anyone was looking for them, if they knew people cared. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number, but this time it wasn't a threat. "Thank you for saving Theo. One of the 2. My hands shook as I typed back. "Where are you? We can help." No response. I showed Kayla in the morning. She immediately called Chen, who traced the number to a burner phone that had already been destroyed. But it was proof. At least one of them was still alive. The Marcus trial was swift. With his confession and the evidence we'd gathered, conviction was certain. I testified about the church's youth programs, how they'd targeted vulnerable girls, how Derek and Marcus had worked together. During a break, I noticed a man in the gallery staring at me, well-dressed, taking notes. When our eyes met, he smiled slightly and left. "Who was that?" I asked Chen. She checked with security. "No ID logged, but we'll review the cameras." That night, another text. "He says we're going to paradise." I don't believe him. I responded immediately. Where? Tell me where. Can't. He checks our phones. Deleting this. Chen's team worked frantically to trace the messages, but the trail died at a cell tower near the state border. The girl was smart, using different phones, probably stealing moments when her captors weren't watching. A week passed. Then another text. The other girl is sick. Really sick. He won't get help. Tell me where you are. Please. Mountains. Can see city lights at night. Big house. Others here too. Chen's team narrowed it down to 3 possible locations, all properties connected to the church network, but they needed more for a warrant. Keep her talking, Chen instructed. We need details. But the text stopped. For 3 agonizing days, nothing. I barely slept, checking my phone constantly. Kayla tried to distract me with college prep, but I couldn't focus. Then, at 3 a.m., she died. They buried her in the woods. I'm next. My scream woke Kayla. Within minutes, we were at the station. Chen had mobilized every available unit. It's enough, she declared. Judge signed emergency warrants for all 3 properties. I wanted to go with them, but Kayla held me back. Let them do their jobs. The waiting was agony. Dawn broke with no news. Then finally Chen called. We found her, and 6 others. The relief nearly dropped me, but it was tempered by what came next. The girl who died. She was 15, been missing from Nevada for 2 years. Her parents thought she was a runaway. The house was a mansion in the mountains, owned by a shell company connected to 3 churches. The girls had been told they were being trained for missionary work. Instead, they were prisoners, forced to cook and clean while waiting to be sold. The survivor who'd texted me was 17, from our church. Her name was Rebecca, and she'd been marked for a mission trip months ago. She'd stolen phones from visitors, sending messages when she could. You saved my life, she told me when we finally met. I was ready to give up. Then Theo got away, and I thought maybe someone was actually looking. The raid exposed another piece of the network. More arrests, more churches investigated. The system kept unraveling, thread by thread. But for every operation shut down, whispers suggested others continued. I testified in 6 more trials that year. Each time the gallery held well-dressed men taking notes. Each time new threats appeared on my phone, but also messages from survivors, girls who'd heard about the trials and found courage to speak up. The night before I left for college, we held a gathering. 32 survivors, all connected by shared trauma and determination. We weren't an official support group. That felt too formal. Just women who understood each other. They think they broke us, Sarah said, raising her glass of sparkling cider. But look around. We're here. We're fighting. We're winning. It didn't feel like winning. Not with girls still missing. Not with the system still operating in shadows. But it was something. As I packed my dorm room a week later, surrounded by normal college freshman chaos, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then curiosity won. Starting fresh at Eastern University too. Maybe we could be friends? A survivor? I looked around the quad, wondering who else carried these invisible scars. Who else was trying to build normal from the ashes of trauma? I'd like that. I typed back. Because that's what we did. We survived. We found each other. We refused to let them win. And maybe eventually, that would be enough.